Hi, I'm Dumbledan from SampleLibraryReview.com. Today we're going to be checking out FXEQ by iZotope. iZotope just launched FXEQ, promising a multi-effects plugin that applies 5 creative effects in a powerful EQ workflow. It's designed to eliminate the need for complex routing, buses, or sends. And what I want to know is FXEQ just an EQ with effects, or a whole new way of shaping sound? FXEQ is a 6-band EQ. There's effects for each with 4 filter shapes. There's 8 saturation modes and 4 Lowfi modes, 3 reverbs and 4 delay types. There's a limiter with 0 latency to prevent clipping, 50 plus presets, a random preset picker, and an effects-only mode for send effects. Plugin normally sells for $49. There's a $39 crossgrade offer for users who own any paid iZotope product till August 19th. Now, I got a beta here of FXEQ. I think it's pretty close to what they're going to be releasing here today when I publish the video. However, I don't have any of the effects presets, so anybody that's picked this up is going to get a lot more starting power with the effects presets. Today, we're going to listen to a little track that I created here. I'm going to break it down. It's real simple, but it gave me a real good insight as to what FXEQ could do. Let's start off here with a flute that I had programmed in. Now with FXEQ, you've got the ability to solo each of the effects so you can hear what they're doing. I decided I just wanted to keep just the effects for this lo-fi sound because I thought it was so wonky, and here's what we got from that. So much wobble there in this vinyl plugin. I got the vinyl wear here up to 100% and the wobble cranked up. But as you can see, there's 4 other effects here that we're going to play around with and get another sound. So in addition to this soloed lo-fi effect, I have another copy of the instrument here. I've got the Flute Effects 2 here with just 3 of these modules turned up. And you'll notice up here we get the ability to use effects only, so you can hear I'm using reverb, delay, and modulation only during the playback. Now, if I was to turn that effects only off, you'll hear the original playback of the instrument as well as the effects playing together. Now, because of the way that I programmed this with the lo-fi only version and the flute effects with reverb, delay, and modulation, you'll hear it builds up to a pretty unique sound. And you'll hear on the track I was creating, I wanted to use that sound to hint at that leading line without actually having it just completely stand out on its own. Now with that, you'll hear I had a little hand pan going as well as a drum loop start to kick in. With that drum loop here, I'll play it by itself without any of the effects on. And now with the effects turned on. I really liked using FXEQ on drums here, especially when it's a loop that's already pre-existing with the way that it sounds together, because you're able to really pinpoint some very precise areas for adding your modulation, saturation, a little bit of verb in the low end for that. And you could also add some delay, the lo-fi across the whole high end of the sound. Go ahead and jump over to that hand pan, and you can hear that the hand pan without any effects turned on here. got a little bit of verb and room to it, but I went ahead and used quite a bit of the effects in FXEQ with reverb and delay to give it a little more depth and space. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off all my effects EQ right here so you could hear that track as it is, and then I'll play with the effects EQ turned on all of those tracks. Now let's hear it with all of the effects EQs turned on, and you can hear just how much depth it adds to this kind of performance. Yeah, I really like how it just adds depth to your mix with the verb and the delay. The Lowfi effect was a lot of fun to add for those intro flutes because it just gives it a lot of character. And I do love how you're able to just solo those effects with the effects only, so you can just get just that effect sound for the channel. Gave it a lot of character there at the beginning. So one thought I kept having as I was learning a little bit about effects EQ, working up that track, getting an idea was, you've got all of these nodes here and your different shapes for your EQ, and you're able to grab each of them and move them around. So I thought, what if I can automate these? I'm inside Logic. All I need to do is go over, turn my track into touch record mode. Then I just have to push play and establish some movement with the effect. So now when I go back and play that track, you can hear we've got a great way to start before we get to leading in any of those other parts. Not only is effects EQ going to give you the ability to use, your saturation, reverb, delay, modulation in bands or across different shapes in the EQ spectrum, but you're actually going to be able to automate it to get whole new sounds. Like this, what I just did was basically doing a lo-fi filter that I probably would have had to set up on a bus, send my loop out to a bus, automate an EQ before it hits a lo-fi effect. So in this essence, I'm actually just able to think about this in a different way and maybe find some new creative ways to work within my tracks. And this got me thinking, what if I automate everything? What if I take that handpan and automate each of those effects that I'd used and see what kind of dimension, space, movement, maybe a little bit of that 8-bit lo-fi crunch gets into the instrument, and what kind of sound I could get by manipulating it in this way. And I think that's when I found my answer. FXEQ is more than just an EQ. With effects, it's a whole new way of thinking about or shaping sounds. Automate your EQ settings for each of those effects adds such depth and movement that I don't think that perhaps the developer may have originally thought about it. I don't think I saw that in any of the promotional material at the time of playing with the beta here, but it just opened it up to a whole nother world of performance. Now, I have to caution that many times I've worked with EQs and effects EQs that have had some clipping or noise or some little digital artifacts when you're moving around and programming out some automation in EQs. And I had none of that here, none of that zippering effect or clicking. So I was pleasantly surprised at how smooth this effects plugin works on these tracks. I don't think this will be a game-changing plugin for anybody, but I think for adding that little bit of extra depth, movement, that little bit of feel that maybe your instrument, vocals, drums might be lacking or could add to it, could do a lot. A lot of times layering is the way to do that. And for me, with something as simple as 6 tracks here and effects EQs automated on those tracks, I can hear I'm starting to develop something that might have taken me quite a bit longer to create had I thought about layering or trying to figure out what might augment or work in the particular situation of those instruments. Now, I've shared a whole bunch of thoughts along the way, but I'd love to hear yours. Please comment below. Let me know what you think about effects EQ. Will you be grabbing this right away with that special $39 crossgrade price for owners of any paid iZotope product? Please chime in below. Let me know your thoughts. If you haven't already, like the video, share it with your friends, and come back around on Fridays for a weekly Deal Compressor show.